The Forsaken. The Crixon trading post floated like a dying insect in the darkness between stars. Its hull was pitted with micrometeorite impacts and patched with mismatched metal plates that spoke of decades of neglect. Inside, the air tasted of recycled oxygen and desperation. Lyra pressed herself deeper into the shadows of the storage compartment. Her silvery skin, once luminescent like moonlight on water, had dulled to a lifeless gray. The neural implants at the base of her skull throbbed with phantom pain, reminders of the control collar that had been removed only after her mind had been thoroughly broken. She heard footsteps approaching, heavy boots on metal grating. Her hearts beat in discordant rhythm as she tried to make herself smaller, invisible. The Kethrani were never meant to live in darkness. Her people had evolved under the binary suns of Ketha Prime, their bodies designed to absorb and reflect light. But 7 years of captivity had taught her that darkness was safer than light. Manifest says there should be 12 crates of deuterium cells in here. A voice said, human, male. Lyra had learned to identify species by their footsteps, their breathing patterns, their scent. Humans were unpredictable. Some were cruel. Some were indifferent. She'd never met a kind one. The compartment door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Light flooded in, and Lyra instinctively closed her inner eyelids, the translucent membranes that protected Kethrani eyes from radiation. Through the milky filter, she saw a figure silhouetted in the doorway. Marcus Chen had been running cargo for 15 years, and he'd seen plenty of strange things in the darker corners of the galaxy. But he wasn't prepared for the sight of the creature huddled behind the deuterium crates. At first he thought it was a child. Then he noticed the elongated limbs, the silvery skin covered in scars, the 3 eyes that blinked at him in terror. Jesus, he breathed, then raised his voice. Sam, get down here, bring the med kit. Lyra tried to retreat further, but there was nowhere to go. The human was blocking the only exit. She raised her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of submission, her 7-fingered hands trembling. Easy, Marcus said, holding up his own hands. I'm not going to hurt you. He'd said those words before, to frightened refugees, to abandoned children on war-torn colonies, but something about this being's abject terror made his chest tighten. Samantha Okafor appeared in the doorway, the ship's medic and Marcus's second-in-command. She took in the scene with a professional eye. Kethrani, she identified. Female. Malnourished. Those scars. Marcus, those are slave marks. Slavery's illegal in this sector, Marcus said, though he knew how little that meant in practice. Tell that to the cartel, Sam replied grimly. She knelt slowly, pulling out a medical scanner. Can you understand us? She asked Lyra. Lyra nodded minutely. She understood Galactic Standard, along with 14 other languages. Her captors had ensured she could serve any master. But speaking invited punishment. What's your name? Sam asked gently. Lyra opened her mouth, but only a rasp emerged. She hadn't spoken in months. The last time she'd tried, the overseer had activated her pain implants until she'd lost consciousness. Marcus reached for his water bottle, moving slowly as if approaching a wounded animal. He set it on the floor between them and backed away. Lyra stared at it, then at him, searching for the trap. When none materialized, she inched forward and grabbed the bottle, drinking greedily. When did you last eat? Sam asked. Lyra held up 4 fingers. 4 days. She'd been hiding since the station's last slave auction, where she'd been displayed and rejected. Too broken, the buyers had said. Not worth the feed cost. Marcus felt anger building in his gut. He'd fought in the colonial. Wars had seen humanity at its worst. But this casual cruelty toward a sentient being, it reminded him why he'd left military service. We're taking her with us, he decided. Sam looked at him sharply. Marcus, if she belongs to someone, she doesn't belong to anyone, Marcus said firmly. No one owns another person, not on my ship. Lyra's 3 eyes widened. She'd heard those words before, from idealistic fools who didn't understand how the galaxy really worked. But something in this human's tone was different. There was steel. "Beneath the kindness, can you walk?" Marcus asked her. Lyra nodded, though her legs shook as she stood. She was taller than both humans when fully upright, but years of crouching in cages had left her spine curved. As they made their way through the station's corridors, Lyra noticed how other beings gave them a wide berth. She'd learned to read body language across species, and what she saw surprised her. They weren't avoiding her, they were avoiding the humans. There was something about the way Marcus walked, purposeful and protective, that made even the station's rougher elements think twice. The Phoenix Rising sat in Docking Bay 7, a mid-sized freighter that had seen better days but was clearly well-maintained. As they approached the boarding ramp, a harsh voice called, out behind them, "Hold it right there, human." Marcus turned slowly. A Vorthan slaver stood 20 meters away, flanked by 2 Grax enforcers. Lyra recognized him. Kalash, one of the station's more notorious flesh traders. "That's my property you're stealing," Kalash said, his facial tentacles writhing with agitation. "I don't see any property," Marcus replied evenly. "Just a person who needs medical attention." "I have documentation," Kalash insisted, pulling out a data pad, purchased legally through cartel channels. "The cartel can kiss my ass," Marcus said. "And so can you." The Grax enforcers reached for their weapons. Lyra cowered, expecting violence, but Marcus just smiled, an expression that didn't reach his eyes. "You really want to do this?" he asked. "Here? In a Confederation port?" Kalash hesitated. The station might be a cesspool, but it was still technically under Confederation jurisdiction. And humans, despite being relatively new to the galactic community, had earned a reputation for being unreasonably stubborn about their moral principles. "The Kathrani is damaged goods anyway," Kalash said finally. "But this isn't over, human. Looking forward to it," Marcus replied. They boarded the ship without further incident, but Lyra could feel Kalash's eyes on them until the airlock sealed. The Phoenix Rising's interior was clean and functional, with none of the ostentation favored by wealthy traders. Marcus led Lyra to the medical bay, where Sam began a thorough examination. "Malnutrition, obviously," Sam reported. "Old fractures that didn't heal properly, and these neural implants." She shook her head. "Barbaric. They're designed to stimulate pain centers directly." "Can you remove them?" Marcus asked. "Not without proper facilities, but I can deactivate them." As Sam worked, Lyra found herself studying Marcus. He'd taken enormous risk for her, a stranger, a broken slave not worth the cost of feeding. It didn't make sense. "Why?" she whispered, the word barely audible. Marcus looked at her. "Why what? Why, help me?" Each word was a struggle, her vocal cords protesting after months of silence. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because someone should have helped you a long time ago, and because being human means something to me, even if it doesn't mean much to some of my own species." Lyra didn't understand. In her experience, power was everything. The strong dominated the weak. That was the way of the galaxy, but this human spoke of principle as if it were stronger than profit, compassion as if it were more valuable than credits. "Rest now," Sam said, finishing her work. "You're safe here." Safe. Lyra had forgotten what that word meant, but as the sedatives took effect and she drifted into sleep, she found herself almost believing it. Marcus stood in the cockpit staring out at the stars. They'd need to leave quickly before Kalash decided to press the issue, but first he had calls to make. The Underground Railroad, as the Liberation Network called itself, needed to know about the Kathrani, and they needed supplies for their unexpected passenger. "You know this is going to bring trouble," Sam said, joining him. "Probably," Marcus agreed. "You okay with that?" Sam smiled. "Marcus, I've been your medic for 5 years. If you weren't getting us into trouble trying to save someone, I'd check you for brain parasites." He laughed, then grew serious. "She's been through hell." "They all have," Sam said. the ones we rescue. But there's something different about this one. The Kathrani are supposed to be telepathic, you know, low level, empathic more than true, telepathy. So imagine being an empath and being tortured, feeling your tormentor's pleasure at your pain. No wonder she's so broken. Marcus's hands tightened on the controls. Then we'll just have to help her heal. Show her that not everyone in the galaxy is a monster. As the Phoenix Rising prepared to depart, neither Marcus nor Sam noticed the small, tracking device attached to Lyra's neural implants. Kalash might have let them go, but the cartel never forgot a debt, and they had very specific plans for the last free Kathrani in the galaxy. But for now, Lyra slept peacefully for the first time in 7 years, protected by humans who asked nothing in return for their kindness. It was, she would later realize, her first taste of hope. The healing. The rhythm of hyperspace had always soothed Marcus. The gentle hum of the Phoenix Rising's engines, the soft blue glow of the navigation console, the sense of being between places, it reminded him that the galaxy was vast and full of possibilities. But tonight his thoughts kept returning to their passenger. Lyra had been aboard for 3 days now, and progress was slow. She'd taken to hiding in the smallest spaces she could find, emerging only when Sam coaxed her out for medical checks. She ate mechanically, slept fitfully, and spoke in whispers when she spoke at all. "She's up again," Sam's voice came through the comm. "Found her in the cargo hold organizing the supplies." Marcus frowned. "Organizing?" "By size, color, and function. She's been at it for 2 hours. I think it's a coping mechanism." He made his way to the cargo hold, moving quietly. Lyra was indeed there, her silver-gray form moving among the crates with surprising grace. She'd arranged everything in perfect patterns, each item precisely aligned. "Couldn't sleep?" Marcus asked softly. Lyra froze, then slowly turned. Her 3 eyes blinked in sequence. A Kathrani expression of uncertainty, he'd learned. "I apologize," she whispered. "Did not mean to disturb." "You're not disturbing anything," Marcus assured her. "The cargo bay's common area. You're welcome here." She tilted her head, studying him. "Your crew, they do not mind?" "My crew is just Sam and me and occasionally my engineer Jin when we need repairs. And no, we don't mind." Lyra's hands moved in what he recognized as a Kathrani gesture of confusion. "Only 2? But this ship, it could support 12. Used to be 12, back when I ran military contracts. Now it's just us." He sat on a crate, making himself less imposing. "More peaceful this way." "Peaceful," Lyra repeated the word as if tasting it. Then, surprising him, she sat on a nearby crate. Not relaxed, still ready to flee, but sitting nonetheless. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. She nodded cautiously. "Why arrange everything so precisely?" Lyra's fingers traced patterns on her legs, a nervous habit. "Order creates predictability. Predictability creates safety." Her voice dropped. "Chaos brings punishment." Marcus felt that familiar anger burn in his chest. "No one's going to punish you here, Lyra. Not for anything." "You say that," she whispered. "They all say that. At first." "I'm not them." She studied him with those remarkable eyes. The Kathrani had evolved to see in multiple spectrums. Sam had told him. He wondered what she saw when she looked at him. "Your biorhythms," Lyra said suddenly. "They're steady. Most species fluctuate when they lie. Yours don't." "You can sense that?" A ghost of what might have been a smile crossed her face. "Kathrani gift or curse, we feel everything." The almost smile faded. "That's why they wanted us. Perfect servants. We know what you need before you ask." "That's why the neural implants," Marcus said, understanding. "To block your abilities. To control them," Lyra corrected. "Channel them only where permitted. Feel only what serves the master." Her hands clenched. "For 7 years I felt nothing but what they allowed. pain, fear, servitude. But not anymore, Marcus said firmly. She looked at him with something like wonder. No, not anymore. But I don't know how to feel. Everything is loud. Marcus made a decision. Would you like to learn? Learn? To feel again. To be yourself again. Sam knows about rehabilitating refugees and I've had my own journey back from darkness. Lyra's 3 eyes blinked rapidly. Surprise, he thought. You would teach me? If you'll let us. For a long moment she was silent. Then, in a voice so quiet he almost missed it, she said, Yes. The next days fell into a routine. Morning medical checks with Sam, who gradually helped Lyra understand that her body was hers again. Afternoons with Marcus, who taught her ship operations, not because she needed to know, but because learning gave her purpose. This is the Navi. Console, Marcus explained on the 5th day. Plot a course by inputting coordinates here. Lyra's fingers hovered over the controls. I'm allowed to touch? It's a teaching console. Can't actually change our course. Go ahead. She touched the screen reverently, her natural grace returning as she worked through the calculations. Kathrani minds were remarkably quick, Marcus discovered. She absorbed information like a sponge. Your species, Lyra said as she worked. They're new to the galactic community. Relatively, about 50 standard years. Yet you adapt quickly. Challenge the established order. She paused. The cartel fears you. Good, Marcus said with satisfaction. They should. Why? Lyra turned to face him. You have no empire, your military is small. Your technology is borrowed from others. Marcus leaned against the console. Because we're stubborn. Because we have this annoying habit of standing up for what's right, even when it's inconvenient. And because we've learned that some things are worth fighting for. Like what? Like freedom. Like the right to choose your own path. He met her gaze. Like you. Lyra's skin flushed slightly, a Kathrani emotional response she couldn't quite control yet. I'm not worth. Stop, Marcus said gently. You are worth it. Every person is. That's what makes us human. Not the species, but the choice to see value in others. She was quiet for a moment, then, I'm beginning to understand why the cartel fears you. That night, the alarms woke everyone. Marcus rushed to the cockpit to find proximity alerts blaring. 3 ships had dropped out of hyperspace directly in their path. Cartel hunters, Sam reported, already at the weapons console. They're hailing us. Put them through. The view screen flickered to life, revealing Kalash's tentacled face. Human, you have something that belongs to me. Go to hell, Marcus replied pleasantly. I've been patient, Kalash continued. Return the Kathrani and I'll forget this incident. Continue to harbor stolen property and things become unpleasant. Lyra, Marcus said without looking back, knowing she'd followed him to the cockpit. Do you belong to him? No, her voice was stronger than he'd heard it. I belong to no one. There's your answer, Marcus told Kalash. The Vorthon's tentacles writhed in anger. Then you've chosen death. That Kathrani is valuable beyond your comprehension. Her species' abilities make the perfect infiltrators, perfect spies, perfect weapons. She's the last free one and I will have her. The transmission cut off. Immediately, the hunter ships opened fire. Shields up, Marcus commanded, throwing the Phoenix Rising into evasive maneuvers. Sam, return fire. Target their engines. The ship shuddered under impact. Lyra gripped the back of Marcus's chair, her empathic senses overwhelmed by the sudden surge of adrenaline and determination from the humans. You're not afraid, she said wonderingly. Terrified, Marcus corrected, banking hard to avoid a missile. But fear doesn't mean we stop fighting. Something awakened in Lyra then. For 7 years, fear had ruled her. But these humans felt fear and chose courage anyway. It was a revelation. The lead ship, she said suddenly. Kalash is there. And he's uncertain. His crew doubts. They expected you to surrender. Marcus grinned. You can sense that? From here? The implants are deactivated. My abilities are returning. She closed her eyes, concentrating. Port side gunner on the second ship. He's inexperienced, panicking. Sam, target the second ship's port weapons array. Full spread. Sam fired and the shots hit perfectly. The hunter ship's port side erupted in explosions, sending it spinning away. The third ship is retreating, Lyra reported. They're afraid. Your reputation, sometimes reputation is the best weapon, Marcus said, pushing the Phoenix Rising to its limits. They played cat and mouse for an hour, using Lyra's growing awareness to anticipate the hunter's moves. But the Phoenix Rising was outgunned and they all knew it. Marcus, Sam called. Hull breach in Section 7, we can't take much more. That's when Lyra did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She reached out with her mind, not to sense but to project. 7 years of pain, fear, and desperation flooded outward in a telepathic scream that hit every sentient being on the hunter ships. The effect was immediate. On the view screen they could see the hunter ships wavering, their crews overwhelmed by the emotional onslaught. In that moment of chaos, Marcus saw their chance. Full power to engines. We're running. The Phoenix Rising shot forward, past the disoriented hunters and into clear space. Behind them, Kalash raged at his crew, but it was too late. The human ship jumped to hyperspace and was gone. In the sudden quiet, Lyra collapsed. Marcus caught her before she hit the floor, her body trembling with exhaustion. I didn't know I could do that, she whispered. You defended yourself, Marcus said. You defended us. That took incredible courage. I felt your courage, she said, her eyes focusing on his. And Sam's. It's like light and darkness. I wanted to be part of it. Sam appeared with a medical scanner. No permanent damage, just exhaustion. She needs rest. As Marcus carried Lyra to the medical bay, she spoke again. The cartel won't stop. I'm too valuable. The last free telepath of my kind. Then we'll just have to make sure you're not the last, Marcus said. The Underground Railroad has resources, connections. We'll find others of your kind. Free them. Why? Lyra asked, though she already knew the answer. She could feel it radiating from both humans. Determination, compassion, hope. Because that's what we do, Sam said simply. We find the lost and help them come home. I had a home once, Lyra murmured as sleep took her. But maybe home isn't a place. Marcus settled her gently on the medical bed. No, he agreed. Sometimes home is just the people who refuse to give up on you. Over the next weeks, Lyra's transformation was remarkable. Her gray skin regained its silver luster. Her empathic abilities, free from the implant's control, blossomed into something beautiful. She could sense the crew's emotions and respond with her own. Tentative. At first, then, with growing confidence. She learned to laugh at Jin's terrible jokes when the engineer visited. She discovered music, spending hours listening to human compositions that made her skin shimmer with contained emotion. She found that anger could be righteous, that fear could be overcome, that joy was possible even after darkness. And she learned about hope. Not the cruel false hope dangled by captors, but real hope, the kind that humans seem to carry in their bones, the stubborn belief that tomorrow could be better than today. You're different, she told Marcus one evening as they watched stars stream by. Your species. You feel everything we do, pain, fear, despair, but you choose hope anyway. It's not easy, Marcus admitted. Sometimes hope is all we have, but sometimes, he smiled, sometimes it's enough. Lyra's skin pulsed with soft silver light, a Kathrani expression of deep emotion. Will you teach me more? Everything I know, Marcus promised. In the depths of space, the Phoenix Rising sailed on, carrying a human crew and a Kathrani refugee who was learning that she was so much more than what her captors had tried to make her. She was learning to be free. The liberation, The Meridian Trading Hub sprawled across 3 interconnected stations, a massive complex where 1,000 species mingled in the closest thing to neutral territory the galaxy offered. Here, Confederation, law held sway, and even the cartel operated within legal boundaries, mostly. Lyra stood at the observation deck, her silver skin reflecting the lights of passing ships. 6 months had passed since Marcus had found her in that storage compartment. 6 months of healing, learning, and growing stronger. Now she looked like a different being entirely. Nervous? Marcus asked, joining her at the viewport. Terrified, Lyra admitted, but there was strength in her voice. But you taught me that fear doesn't mean we stop. Today was the day. The Galactic Court had agreed to hear her testimony against the cartel's slave operations. It was unprecedented. A former slave speaking against her captors in open court. The Underground Railroad had worked for months to arrange it. Remember, Sam said, approaching with a datapad. You don't have to. Do this, even now we can— No, Lyra interrupted, her 3 eyes blinking with determination. For 7 years they silenced me. No more. A figure approached them, tall, wearing the plain gray robes of a judicial advocate. But Lyra sensed something familiar about their emotional signature. Something— Lyra, the figure said, lowering their hood to reveal silver skin and 3 amber eyes. I am Advocate Theron. I am Kathrani. Lyra's legs nearly buckled. Another Kathrani. Free. Alive. She'd begun to believe she was truly the last. How? She whispered. Theron's expression softened. The Underground Railroad has been busy. 17 of our people have been recovered in the past months. You're not alone anymore. Tears, a human gesture Lyra had learned, rolled down her cheeks. Marcus placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, and she felt his quiet joy mingling with her own overwhelming relief. The cartel will try to intimidate you, Theron continued. They'll claim ownership, cite old laws, attempt to discredit your testimony. But Confederation law is clear. No sentient being can be property. And with your testimony, we can expose their entire operation. I'm ready, Lyra said. The courtroom was a study in controlled chaos. Representatives from dozens of worlds filled the gallery. Media drones hovered in designated zones, and at the defendant's table, Kalash sat with his legal team, his tentacles writhing with barely contained rage. Lyra took the witness stand, her posture straight, her silver skin catching the courtroom lights. She could feel the emotional turmoil in the room, curiosity, skepticism, anger, hope. But she didn't let it overwhelm her. Marcus had taught her to use her empathy as a strength, not a weakness. State your name for the record, the adjudicator. A ancient Zelani requested. Lyra Desketha, she said clearly, daughter of the 7th Moon Colony, citizen of the Kethrani Republic, and survivor of 7 years of illegal enslavement. The prosecutor, a human woman named Chen, began her questions. Lyra told her story, the raid on her colony, the years and hours of captivity, the neural implants designed to control her abilities, the auction where she'd been discarded as worthless. And who purchased you at that final auction? Chen asked. No one, Lyra said, her eyes finding Kalash. I was considered too damaged to be worth the price. I was left to die. Objection, Kalash's lawyer, a Vorthan like his client, interrupted. The witness was legal salvage under cartel law. Cartel law has no standing in this court, the adjudicator ruled. Continue. Chen nodded. What happened after the auction? Captain Marcus Chen found me. Offered me water, food, freedom. Lyra's voice strengthened. He showed me that not all beings see others as property to be owned. She continued her testimony for hours, detailing the cartel's operations, the treatment of slaves, the neural control, technology. She spoke of the trafficking routes, the corruption of local officials, the hidden facilities where Kethrani and other telepathic species were broken and molded into tools. Through it all, she could feel Kalash's rage building like a storm, but she could also feel something else, fear. He was afraid of her, afraid of what her testimony would mean. When the defense's turn came, they were ruthless. Isn't it true that Kethrani are natural empaths? The Vorthan lawyer asked. That your species evolved to please others, to sense their needs. We evolved to connect, Lyra corrected. To understand, not to serve. But serving comes naturally to you, doesn't it? Your brain chemistry rewards you for pleasing others? Lyra felt the trap but faced it head-on. Many species find satisfaction in helping others. Humans risk their lives for strangers. Zelani spends centuries in public service. That doesn't make us natural slaves. Yet you organized Captain Chen's cargo hold. You learned his ship's systems. You now work as his communications officer. Aren't you still serving? I choose to help, Lyra said firmly. I'm paid fair wages. I can leave whenever I wish. That's the difference between employment and slavery. Choice. The lawyer changed tactics. You claim you were mistreated, yet medical records show you were fed, sheltered, given medical care. I was kept functional, Lyra interrupted, her skin flushing with anger. Like a machine. Fed enough to work, healed enough to serve, but never allowed to be a person. And these alleged neural implants, do you have proof they were used to control you? Lyra turned to the adjudicator. With the court's permission, I would like to demonstrate. The adjudicator nodded. Lyra closed her eyes and reached out with her empathic abilities, projecting carefully, not the overwhelming scream she'd used against the hunter ships, but a controlled sharing of memory. Everyone in the courtroom felt it, the burning agony of the implants activating, the helplessness of having her own abilities turned against her, the despair of years without hope. Several beings in the gallery cried out. Even the adjudicator's stoic expression cracked. The witness will refrain from, the defense lawyer began, but stopped as Lyra opened her eyes. That, she said quietly, is what control feels like. Every day, for 7 years. The courtroom was silent. When Kalash himself took the stand, his arrogance had evaporated. He tried to claim legitimate business practices, cited ancient trade agreements, argued jurisdictional technicalities, but the damage was done. The Kethrani was purchased legally, he insisted. Bills of sale, transfer documents, forged, Chen interrupted, presenting evidence the Underground Railroad had gathered. The Kethrani Republic never authorized the sale of its citizens. These documents are fabrications. But the real blow came when Lyra stood to address the court directly. You want to know why the cartel fears free Kethrani? She said, looking directly at Kalash. Because we remember. We feel. We can share the truth of what you've done. She reached out again, this time projecting not her own memories, but the echoes of emotion she'd absorbed from other slaves in the compounds. Dozens of voices, species, experiences, all flooding out in a wave of testimony that no legal argument could refute. The verdict was unanimous. Kalash and his operation were found guilty of sentient trafficking, torture, and violating Confederation law. The sentence was life imprisonment, and more importantly, it set a precedent. The cartel's slave operations began to crumble as other victims found the courage to speak. But the real victory came later, in a quiet meeting room where the Underground Railroad gathered to plan their next moves. We've identified 12 more Kethrani and cartel facilities, Theron reported. With the court's ruling, we can demand their immediate release. And the other species? Lyra asked. She'd become a regular at these meetings, her abilities invaluable in planning rescues. 47 beings across 9 species, Marcus said. All telepathic or empathic, all being held illegally. Then we go get them, Lyra said simply. That night, aboard the Phoenix Rising, Lyra stood in the cargo hold where Marcus had first found her. But instead of cowering in shadows, she stood tall, her skin glowing with healthy silver light. Regrets? Marcus asked, joining her. None, she said. Except? I'll never get those 7 years back. Never know who I might have been without all of this. Marcus was quiet for a moment. None of us get to know who we might have been. We only get to choose who we become. Lyra smiled, a truly human expression she'd adopted. And I choose this. I choose to be someone who fights for others, like me, who refuses to let anyone be thrown away. The Underground Railroad could use someone with your skills, Marcus offered, Officially, I mean. Full partner status. Are you offering me a job, Captain Chen? I'm offering you a purpose if you want it. Lyra's skin pulsed with warm light. I spent 7 years as property. I think I'd like to spend the next 7 making sure no one else goes through that. They shook hands. Another human custom Lyra had embraced, and in that moment, something shifted in the galaxy. The last free Kathrani wasn't the last anymore. She was the first of many who would reclaim their freedom. Over the following months, Lyra became the Underground Railroad's most effective operative. Her empathic abilities let her identify slaves who were ready to run, guards who could be turned, officials